ceremony with an invocation from Reverend Morris, Mayor of Village Lutheran Church.
Let us pray. Lord our God, we give thanks to you for this great land, with all its liberties and many blessings. We ask that you be with those today that are planning and attending today's ceremony and ceremonies around the nation. Today we especially give thanks for those who served their country in its hour of need, and for our fallen heroes who have given their very lives in that service. May we never forget their sacrifice. Lord, watch over those military men and women on American and foreign soils this day, who, knowing the real and potential dangers of their work, stand ready to preserve the cause of freedom with the devotion to duty and those who serve before them. Grant your divine care over the family members of our nation's armed forces. We ask that you minister to them and bring them your peace and comfort. Be with us today as we honor their devotion and sacrifice. This prayer we offer in your name. Amen.
Thank you. Welcome, and thank everyone for being here. This is the 100th anniversary celebration of the birthday of President John F. Kennedy. Last year, the United States Senate passed legislation establishing a John F. Kennedy Centennial Commission that would plan, develop, and carry out activities to honor the president on the occasion of his 100th anniversary. Institutions across the country, such august bodies as the Smithsonian, the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, the Library of Congress, and of course the John F. Kennedy Library and Museum, are holding dedicated events and exhibits also today and throughout the year. In the same vein, the Bronxville Village and the Bronxville Historical Conservancy partnered and registered with the commission and worked directly with the National Archivist and the Kennedy Library. Both were delighted to have Bronxville a part of the celebration, since we were one of the president's hometowns, though perhaps until today, honestly the least known. I am so proud to share in this commemoration. As for me, President Kennedy will always represent bold vision, a commitment to public service, a youthful energy, and in my mind, a vigor that signals America will always have even better days ahead. I just want to quickly introduce a few people who, without their help, guidance, effort, this would not have happened today. From the village, there's Trustee Foreman, Trustee Longobardo, and Village Administrator Jim Palmer. Our wonderful DPW head, Victor Lima, who can't be here today, but literally dug our spot for the President's Monument. From the Conservancy lifetime co-chairs, Marilynn Hill and Bob Riggs, Special Projects Chair, Peter Hicks, the commemorative committee members, Jane Borman and Anderson Kenny, and a special thank you. You know the adage, it takes a village, but in this case it took 2 villages, because we asked our friends in Tuckahoe. They offered to share the most incredible piece of Tuckahoe marble and truly made artistry out of it. I know they're, I know. I'm not sure if they're here, but I saw many of our Tuckahoe friends. I know Supervisor Calavito's here, and I believe I saw Trustee Alfasi and Trustee Luisi. A special thank you to their DPW Superintendent, Frank DeMarco, and the 2 gentlemen who put 2 of their stonemasons artisans, who literally picked this out for us, went in the yard, polished it, Arthur Macchia and Joe Marzella. And they really, I think this was one of the greatest things about this monument, was the partnership with our next door neighbors. I want to turn this over to our Conservancy Life Co-Chair, project committee point person, Marilynn Hill, who has literally worked on this for over a year to make today happen. Marilynn was even seen photographed with a shovel digging in this hole. Stage.
I have it if anybody wants to see it.
Talk about dedication. Thank you, Marilynn Hill.
We'll be brief. Thank you. The village dedication of the John F. Kennedy plaque will be the first official recognition that Bronxville was home to the President Kennedy's family from 1929 to 1941. Many people are surprised to learn that the Kennedy family ever lived here in the village, much less for as many years as this community was the family's official residence, more than 1/4 of John F. Kennedy's life. Until today, Bronxville has been the only Kennedy permanent or vacation residence that has not had some official public recognition. Even his room at Harvard has a plaque. Part of the reason for this omission has been that historic markers are most often found at historic homes, and the Kennedy homestead on Pondfield Road, known as Crownlands, and its 6-acre estate around it was demolished in the 1950s, and then they subdivided all of the property. Before village residents actually would have realized that this was going to become such an important place. A year ago, the Conservancy began working with Mayor on how this oversight might be remedied, and the decision was that we would recognize the years in residence of the entire family as participators in the community, but with an emphasis on John, the son, and the brother. JFK was a Boy Scout, and little did his leaders and fellow members realize that Bronxville Troop would provide the first Boy Scout ever to be president. I also like to think that whether or not he enjoyed Miss Covington's dance school, that training made him a more accomplished dancer at his inaugural ball. Although JFK did not attend our local schools, but instead was bused to Riverdale until he left for boarding school, his 6 youngest brothers and sisters each at some point did attend the public school and private schools here. A broad outline of these everyday activities of JFK and his siblings and parents is the story that we have chosen to tell on the plaque, rather than the heroic acts of a naval officer in war or the monumental decisions of a president and a world leader. So before unveiling the plaque, I'm going to read to you the text that is on it. Bronxville was home to John Fitzgerald Kennedy, 35th President of the United States from 1929 to 1941. He was a member of Boy Scout Troop 2, worshipped at St. Joseph's Church, and attended local dance classes. With his 8 siblings and neighborhood friends, he participated in weekend games and winter sledding on the grounds of Crownlands, the family's 6-acre estate at 294 Pondfield Road. Although JFK and 2 of his oldest siblings received their primary education at a nearby New York City school, the 6 youngest children attended Bronxville public and private schools and also were active in the church and village social and club life. In 1938, Patriarch Joseph P. Kennedy was appointed ambassador to Great Britain, and the family moved to London for 18 months. After 1940, when JFK had graduated from Harvard and the other Kennedy children had reached adolescence and young adulthood, the Kennedys moved from the village. The house was sold in 1941, ending 12 years in Bronxville, and a time in the life of the family that Mother Rose Kennedy later described in her memoir as a golden interval. Crownlands no longer exists. In 1953, the colonial revival house was demolished and the property was subdivided. In 1958, JFK made his last visit to Bronxville to serve as best man in the wedding of his youngest brother. 2 years later, the local newspaper's front page headline proudly announced, "Former Bronxville Man Elected President."
We have Trustee Ann Foreman and the Conservancy Projects Chair, Peter Hicks, unveiling this beautiful so many partnerships. Before we close, I would like to ask Conservancy life co-chair and himself a distinguished war veteran, having served as a captain, United States Air Force Strategic Air Command, pilot 1955 to 1958, Robert Riggs, to lay the wreath in front of our other local war hero, John F. Kennedy. Thank you, Bob. Thank you. Robert, would you like to add anything?
I grew up in Bronxville in the 1930s and 1940s, and frankly the Kennedy family didn't mean much to me since I was just a kid. But I grew to really respect John F. Kennedy as one of our great leaders for which this country should be very grateful.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Those of us in village government and the veterans are going to have our last stop in the village cemetery to have a final honor to our other local war heroes. So you're welcome to join us. We are headed over to our cemetery. Thank you. Thank you. I'll have to get them for you because I only have one copy. So, yeah.
Email me.
I'll email them to you. Absolutely.
Mayor, please.
Sorry.
No, you're in the middle. Marilyn, right here. Marilyn did. I forgot.